So you run a website called Wethepeople.ie. Do you want to take us through the origins of We the People and what We the People do?
Okay. Well, We the People, the concept derived from the preambles to pretty much most constitutions, because that's where ultimately they derive. And that includes the American Constitution too. Declaration of Independence and proclamation in Ireland, because the people are the wellspring of all authority. You know, we the people, you, me, and the rest of us. The We the People is a concept. It's not a group as such. It's just a concept. It's not a membership organisation or anything like that. It's not an organisation at all. It's only a concept for the people to realise the fact that they're sovereign. Nothing more than that. And all the power and authority is vested in the people. The people are the power. And derived many years ago, but before computers. But the difficult thing was how to disseminate the information, or the concept of. And the first We the People talk was in the Teachers Club in 1999, and that was entitled The Free Public Talk on the New World Order. And we're gathering this information a long time. So the pioneer behind that information, most certainly in Ireland anyway, probably all over the place, was from a woman called Deirdre Manifold, who was a woman, she's about 98 now, in a nursing home in County Galway. She's from Salt Hill originally. And at that We the People talk, funny enough, I had happened upon by chance a group of people in Canada called, from a group called Micheál Journal. They were very religious orientated, which I'm not, or politically orientated whatsoever. But they had a very interesting message, and they flew over from Canada. So we met, and they've been talking about this impending financial crash since 1932. So they're on a long time. And they spoke about the microchip implant and all this kind of stuff, what's going to come down the track, electronic money to replace cash. So they spoke at the first We the People talk at the Teachers Club, which I filmed on a VHS tape before DVDs and all that kind of stuff. And they spoke about all this. They spoke about smart technology, satellite monitoring and remote tracking, which I'd still hear nobody speak about. Radio RFID, which is beginning to be spoken about in Ireland. RFID technology. The money's also, the euro notes are already RFID anyway. So they spoke. And the other speaker was a friend of mine, Paddy Bodigan. He's no longer with us. The other speaker was Deirdre Manifold, and I have footage of Deirdre Manifold, but I have no access to it. The person who has that tape point blankly refuses to return it to me, with a couple of other items. I won't mention the name. The most important part of that tape, that first talk, was the footage of Deirdre Manifold, because she's been speaking about this. She wrote, I think, about 10 books, 3 of which were specifically about the global union, New World Order agenda, all about UN, WHO, the whole shebang. So it's a very important footage. So if this man is, or person, if you whatever you want to call it, is listening to this tape, please return it, because people need to see this. Okay?
And what type of information is discussed on the talks these days?
Well, you know, a lot of people speak about problems, but when the We the People talk, that it doesn't happen often enough, because there's a lot of work needs to go into organising talks, booking venues which cost money. People are not inclined to want to pay into these talks for some odd reason. What's discussed at these talks are solutions, or probable solutions. And over the past couple of years, brilliant, you know, a lot of people have, I've met some very interesting people, one of which was Billy McGuire, Mr. T, Vin, yourself,
Mr. B.
Mr. B, of course. Mr. B was probably at the origin of all this. Mr. B stays in the background, that's okay. And we speak about solutions and methods and how to implement these solutions. Very, very simple methods, very effective, that people think so simple that it wouldn't work. But these methods are uncomplicated. People think they have to go on marches. They think they have to shout up and down the street with banners, do talks about problems and rehash the same ding-dong stuff. Now we already know, people are already aware of it. But people need solutions. So at these talks, we offer solutions, remedy, and we prove it, you know. I mean, there's proof of this. This hasn't been, it's not some fandangled idea. All these solutions have been as a result of dealing with the system, dealing with the income tax, dealing with the sheriff, dealing with CPOs, compulsory purchase orders, okay? And I've had my belly full of that. Dealing with all these issues, dealing with threats of jail, imprisonment, okay? This isn't, so it's been a living kind of an experience, you know, and that people need to know how to protect themselves. And this is where it all came from, you know, with the help of some inputs from some interesting people who've been through a couple of hoops. So these talks are quite essential, if you believe. They're essential for the people to hear, to listen. So, lucky enough, some of the talks have been filmed, you know. Can't recollect all of them, but Waterford was one, which is unavailable. Seemingly the battery went on the camera. The other one was McHugh's in Drogheda. There's been a couple of them around the country. Galway, Mayo, we did the talk in Claremorris, you know, and the bus was hijacked. The people did a 4-hour talk in Claremorris because the people were standing around waiting for a talk. That didn't happen. This was the bus, the tour bus, Daryl's bus, and you know, Daryl's doing what he's doing out there, great. But the bus was confiscated and the driver arrested and all that kind of thing. But people needed to talk, so we delivered a 4-hour talk of remedy. And various talks over the years, sure. One in London. And we continue to do. You know. But it's up to the people to book a venue and get a bunch of people together, and we'll go down and we'll do it.
And there's an event on the 21st of January in the evening.
On the 24th of January, after turning the Sovereign Seal, this 2012, next January, will be on the 21st, which is our Independence Day, in case you didn't know. We will celebrate this year's turning of the Sovereign Seal in the Teachers Club. After turning the Sovereign Seal in the Mansion House at 12 noon, we will continue down to Trinity College, then onto the GPO to read the proclamation, and up to the Garden of Remembrance, onto Vaughan's Hotel, where all this sovereignty concept came from. It derived from Vaughan's Hotel, from Billy McGuire's father, who was a personal friend of JFK and the President of India. This is how India got their independence, through the Irish Republican Brotherhood, the Sovereign Republic of Ireland. And then we'll go to the Teachers Club for the talk given by Billy Maguire on sovereignty. We haven't got the exact time schedule, but we will continue then through the evening with song, music, poetry, and we'll end up with a Ceilidh, which will finish up at 1 a.m. in the Teachers Club on the 21st of January.
Do you think it's important that people celebrate Independence Day?
Well, the Americans do it. You see, at these talks, one of the first questions I ask is, hands up who knows what's the National Day of Independence Day in America? And pretty much a lot of people are able to tell me it's the 4th of July. I said, brilliant, 10 out of 10. Now, what day is Ireland's Independence Day? And nobody can answer. Because it's been airbrushed out of history. And I said, well, it happens to be the 21st of January. It's not St. Paddy's Day because that's a day of drunkenness. It's nothing about independence. It's about how to sully the Irish nation into stupor all over the globe. But we don't celebrate our day of independence. We did get a day. We are an independent state, I think. We did fight for independence, I think. Of course we did. And that was obtained on the record in the Mansion House on the 21st of January in 1919, when the sovereign Dáil and sovereign courts were established on the record on that day. That's our Independence Day. Problem is, not enough people are aware of it. But they are now.
That's all our territory now, which is the largest, I believe, in Europe now. The 21st of the 1st, 1919, the Sovereign Republic of Éireann, to the 21st of the 1st, 2011. I, William James McGuire, claim sovereignty over all the territories, rivers, lakes, seas, fishing rights, mineral rights, licenses, and all assets of the state on behalf of the sovereign citizens and the Sovereign Republic of Éireann.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sovereign seal will be turned, and what that means, it'll be turned north, south, east, west, and Billy Maguire will claim all the on behalf and for the people of Ireland, all the natural resources of this country. Fishing rights, mineral rights, oil, gas. They're all claimed on that day on behalf of the Irish people. It is the sovereign people's natural resources. Ours.
So certain members of the Oireachtas who claim to have the authority to hand away or to do deals with multinational corporations on Ireland's resources, are you saying that they don't really have the authority to do that?
Yeah, they don't. And it's up to the people to ask the question on the record. How do you do that? Registered mail. Demand a copy of the contract and or license issued to David Rockefeller and his gangsters way back in '74 for our oil and gas. We've approximately 3.8% of the world's gas. So why are we going hungry? Why are the people out there finding it difficult to feed themselves? Yeah. I must mention Aidan Killian's video called Our Oil and Gas. It's on YouTube, which was put up a couple of weeks ago. I think it's got about 34,000 hits. That's really incensed people. But what are they going to do about it? They need to know how to do this, because one registered letter constitutes 13,000 people thinking the same thing, but doing nothing about it. So if a handful of people write a simple letter, one line, one question, in handwritten blue ink, because blue ink, handwritten, means that you are acting, it's a sovereign flesh and blood man or woman writing this. It's not a machine. Okay? Demanding this, then the game is over for them. This is an uncomplicated way of affecting change. All the marching in the world ain't going to change anything. Because if this thing gets further down the road where people, well, it's already happening now, they use for the first time the phrase eviction people are being evicted from their homes. They find it difficult to feed their families. What's going on? Well, if people can't realise that another orchestrated famine is being organised today in the 21st century, if they can't see that, I don't know what it takes to wake them up. You know, they used to call them ejectment orders. Sounded a little bit better than eviction, but now it's full eviction. You know, from the people, of the people, from their land and their property. You know, to sustain themselves on the planet. That's your sovereign right, to sustain yourself on the planet. You need shelter, you need food, and you need warmth. Obviously water, but now they're charging the people for water. And this is why people need to ask these so-called authorities to document and verify the obligation with their notices, because they're only notices. Where are you getting your alleged authority? Send me a bill, not a notice. Document and verify the obligation that I must pay you money for water and household charges. How did we, the people, cause you to be in debt? Where did this alleged debt come from to pay all this? I recall signing no such contract. And these are the terms that the phraseology that people need to get used to using in their own mind. I recall signing no such contract.
You're a pioneer of the official offer. Do you want to tell us about how that came about?
Approximately 17 years ago, I had a situation where I allegedly would owe a lot of money, and I had a lot of issues at the time to deal with, so I had to put my thinking cap on very quickly. So probably talking about $250,000 at the time, which was a lot of money, of course. So everything that I had worked for would have been gone very quickly if I had engaged legal opinion or counsel. But I had to do that initially just to handle that situation, because there's another 6 similar situations at the time to deal with, kind of maggots. So what happened was, the idea was to come to an agreement of payment in this particular matter. So the solicitor I had engaged to supposedly look after the situation said that there was a call-up date in the High Court. Essentially there were 2 High Court cases and 1 Circuit Court case all together at the same time. So the Circuit Court case, of course we're all familiar with the situation where courts are just to deal with money. So the District Court deals with up to 5,000, beyond that it goes into the Circuit Court. The ceiling of the Circuit Court is around 38 grand, beyond that it goes into the High Court, and the monies are unlimited. Okay, so 1 Circuit Court and 2 High Court would have been a wipeout in fees alone. So the Circuit Court case I dealt with. The other 2 cases were coming up with the solicitor involved. He stated that there was a call-up for these cases to be entered in for a hearing in the High Court, and if I didn't engage him and get legal counsel's opinion, I was going to lose everything. Right? This was the thing. So I said, well, will you not go down to the insurance company and offer a settlement arrangement? Simple, you know. So he said no. So he said, I'll fight hard for you in court. So I said, well, I don't really want it to go to court, because, for obvious reasons. Because if you go to the High Court, the fee in the High Court begins at 25,000 for one side, and 25,000 for the supposed alleged opposition. So straight away, that had to be prevented. So simply what I did was I went into the High Court, which was at this call-up date was only reserved for barristers to get these cases entered into for hearing dates so they could make loads of money. So I went into the High Court, but just before that, pretty much everything used to do with timing. I had posted a cheque, but no letter, into the insurance company for a certain amount of monies, not too much and not too little. So that went through the system, so it was cash. So I obtained a copy of that cheque, brought it into the High Court for this call-up. So the judge said, well, who are you? I said, I'm just the alleged defendant here, you know, and this case cannot be entered. And he said, are you a barrister? I said, no. I said, the case cannot be entered, and why is that? He said, I said, because the insurance company accepted part payment in same. So the judge says, well, where's the proof of this? I said, here, have it in my pocket, which was a copy of the cheque. So that was it. Simple. So the judge says, this case cannot be entered for a hearing. And then the barrister for the insurance company stuck his little head out and he said, I didn't know anything about this. I said, well, you know about it now, don't you? So that was the end of it. Simple.
And ever since then, you've been making small offers.
Oh yeah, well, you see, I did perform on this this alleged debt, right? To the extent that I just hadn't got the resources to perform these quite large amounts of money. Just hadn't got it.
This would have wiped you out, correct?
Well, the circuit court already had done that. I just had no monies left. So I just send them in a few washers every week.
And you've been making offers since then?
I've been performing since then. Sure. It doesn't matter if they accept the offer or not. My intent to perform, that's the issue. And that's what people need to know. Your intent to perform on the contract.
There's a simplified version of the official offer on the website, on TNSRadio.ning.com website. And one of the points is intent to perform on the contract is key.
That's key.
Once you intend to make an offer, once you try your best to settle the debt, then they can't refuse.
Well, if they refuse in law, the debt's cancelled. Simple. That's a fact of law. Legalism is different. Legalism is arguing acts, policy, codes, statutes, which are not law, as you very well know, and as more people out there are beginning to realise. You know. So the intent to perform on the contract was promoted even further. So this is applicable to people who are in mortgage situations or arrears. The secret is not to not pay anything. If you have this is the simplest way out for everybody, because it takes too long to assimilate all the other information. It takes 2 years, and then it takes a further time to feel comfortable with acting that. Okay. So to simplify the whole thing for everybody out there who may be in mortgage arrears or whatever, if they have, for example, €1,000 a month to pay on a mortgage, they can only afford to pay 500, and they may not even be able to afford that because they have to feed their families. The main thing is to sustain yourself on the planet. You need food. If you can only afford, for example, €400 a month, well then give them €400 a month. And even to make that better again, don't do it on a monthly basis, do it on a weekly basis. So your intention to perform on the debt has been increased 4 times. So how can they make a legal determination against anyone?
And explain again why they can't refuse.
Well, you see, if they can't refuse, it means they have actually nullified the debt in law. If I owe somebody money, if I owe somebody €100 and I give them €20 and they refuse that offer of payment of making restitution, they've actually cancelled the debt in law. But the main key in this is you need to put these things, what's known as on the record, okay? And people get confused and worried and concerned about this phrase on the record. They don't know what it means. They don't know how to do it. How do the ordinary people, the sovereign people, put things on the record in order to protect themselves? And the simple way of doing that is you keep a paper trail. Because the verbal contract, a lot of the time, is not worth the paper it's not written on, so you simply get a checkbook and perform on the contract. Or, if you haven't got a checkbook, you can get a bank draft. If you don't want to do a bank draft, you can get a postal order. If you don't want to do a postal order, you literally walk into the bank and you write a lodgement slip and you give them a few sheets of paper and you get your receipt. And you get your receipt off the lodgement slip, and that's your proof of performing on the debt. It's very, very simple. People do it every day in the week, but they don't realise the significance of it and how they can use that for their benefit to protect themselves from these institutions. It's simply how it's done.
So all these people out there, there are more and more people who are literally struggling to put food on the table because the banks are looking for their debts every month, every couple of weeks.
Mm.
And there's a few steps which I think might be good to emphasise. And the first one will be don't panic, which is vital.
Don't panic, yeah. That's the main thing. Everybody panics. Understandably why. Don't panic. Once you know the simple process, you're not going to panic. You know, people have a mental block when you speak about law or legalese. They just close down. They think it's complicated. It's simple. It's very simple. Because we're the lawful people. If you don't cause harm, loss and injury, you're not breaking law. So there's no harm, loss and injury. It's just pieces of paper. So even in their legalese world, you can stay protected. Yeah, by play their legal game. Without going into the whole complexity of proving if money exists and all that kind of thing, and commercial redemption, yada 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 yada, it takes too long to assimilate all that information, comprehend that information, and then feel comfortable to act on that. People don't have the time. People need a remedy. And this is probably one of the most important simple remedies that's applicable all over the planet. Pretty
and
much.
It's a perfect remedy for people who are struggling now, people who are literally struggling to put food on the table.
Sure. Give the bank a couple of washers, pieces of paper with ink on it. Doesn't even state legal tender on it. There's no signs of nature on these. They're not even promissory notes. The euro, for example, it doesn't state bank. It doesn't state a full date. It may say 2002, but that's not a full date in law. It needs a day, a month, and a year. That's why the Irish pound, it did have a day, a month, and a year on it. And it did have two signs of nature, two signatures, the governor of the bank and the secretary to the Department of Finance. They stood under this legal tender at the time. Did state central bank, did have a full date, it had two signatures and a stated legal tender on it. The euro doesn't state any of that. It's just a piece of paper with no backing whatsoever. And this is why people can, and Ireland can, and any other country, sovereign nation who declares itself as such, can print its own promissory notes. It's uncomplicated, and that's why we registered the Sovereign Bank of Éire. Bank Ceannas Éire.
Do you want to explain that briefly?
Well, it's very simple. You can register a business name, it costs you €40. Okay. This here barcode is the proof that it was accepted. So that contract was accepted. They accepted pieces of paper for the registration of a business name, it being the Sovereign Bank of Éire, and it's a done deal. It's uncomplicated. And they send you this in the post with a registration certificate, but on this particular issue they seem to be fudging because of all the names that were registered over the years, there was never any issue with registering the business name. Pretty much you pay the fee to register the name and you get your certificate within a couple of days posted out to you. But in this case they returned the application, which is already done. It's a done deal, you see. It's already a done deal. And they tried to fudge the issue, but that's doesn't mean anything. It's a done deal. So we have registered their Sovereign Bank of Éire. Well, Billy Maguire, who's the President of the Sovereign Republic of Éire and President of the Sovereign Courts, he's the President of the Sovereign Courts, which is where people can be done for treason. Okay. He will rubber stamp validate that bank on the 21st of January this year, 2012. Well, next year. We'll celebrate that, and the teachers love that night with song, music, dance, poetry, and a Kelly.
So do you want to briefly talk about the 21st of January? What's involved?
Well, the 21st of January is the turning of the Sovereign Seal, which is it's depicted behind me here on the banner. The Sovereign Seal is the national emblem that was adopted by the Maguire families when they formed the Sovereign Republic of Éire, a Sovereign Dáil and Sovereign Courts. Way back in 1919, the 21st of January, the Mansion House at 12 noon, that's when everybody in this country became, on the record, sovereign men and women, where we had a sovereign bank, a sovereign Dáil, and since that, of course, the corporation of which the government is, a registered corporation, they had to register. They corporatized the government. And this is why we're in the position that we're in. They've corporatized this country. And they need, the unfortunate thing is that people feel they need to contract with this corporation, like paying income tax, like paying fines for codes, policies, statutes and acts that are posted in their letterbox as offers of contract, to surreptitiously fool people into signing contracts, because it states on the piece of paper words like must or you may face a 25,000 yo-yo fine or 6 months in prison or both. These are all trappings, words like must and may, that people believe they have to sign because they believe the paper speaks to them. It says here, I must do this. Well, this is what the Sovereign Seal represents. It represents your man's 5 senses, the 4 elements, and the Trinity. Makes up the 12 strings in the Sovereign Seal, which is over every judge's head in the court. And to make that lawful, valid, and bona fide, it must have Éire underneath, because Éire is one of the Trinity sisters of Goddess of Sovereignty. And this is why the Sovereign Seal must be placed over the judge's head in the courts. The Brehem's head, I think that's, you don't have to refer to them as my lord, your honour, or judge. They're Brehems under that Sovereign Seal, Brehem seal, and that's what they're sworn under. But people need to put them under oath and they need to act in a sovereign capacity. They need to ask the judge his or her oath of office. Is that oath of office under the sovereign Republic of Éire established on the record in 1919, which created the sovereign seal over the judge's head, or are they sworn to the Oireachtas set up by King George V in 1922, which still prevails today? That's what people need to ask. If they don't ask, well, they don't act in a sovereign capacity or sovereign manner, so they're going to get rulings and legal determinations against them from commercial courts under this corporation. It's as simple as that. It's uncomplicated. People need to know that, and that's what the Oireachtas is, set up by King George V, and that's the case today. We don't have a sovereign government.
And just to be clear, that the Irish people were never given a decision on the Oireachtas. They were never allowed to choose if they wanted the Oireachtas or not. It was simply imposed on top. It was superimposed on top of everything that was set up in 21st January 1919.
Sure. Oh yeah, total imposition. But it was, see, this is the thing about contract. It wasn't a valid contract. There wasn't openness, transparency, and a meeting of minds. There wasn't an exchange there. So people, there's no valid contract there. So people do not have to abide by the codes, policies, statutes and acts of a registered corporation. It's so complicated. I mean, for example, income tax, people kind of get frightened when I talk about income tax, because they say, well, where are you from? Are you from one of these revenue people? I say, no. I just work and I don't pay income tax, and I'll state that in front of anybody, as I have done. That's talks in different parts of the country. I don't pay income tax because I don't contract to pay it. You know, I don't fill in the tax form because I don't have to do anything. People think they have to sign pieces of paper. And one of the greatest examples of that was the recent census that in Ireland there a couple of months ago. And that was just to collect the information on the sovereign bonds, which is all of us. And there was a census in 1911. King George then put his foot on the soil. Within the 100-year time period, another census was, occurred. And a couple of weeks later, then King George's heir and successor, Queen Elizabeth II, put her foot on the soil. And that was to collect all the sovereign bonds. People put their sign of nature on these forms and rendered themselves redundant as a sovereign, flesh and blood Irish man and woman. They didn't know what they were doing. And when I give the talks, I explain this, and then I say, well, who filled in the census? And a lot of people put their hands up, and I said, well, did you see a sovereign seal? Was there a sovereign seal on the census form? And they said no. I said, what did you fill it in for? And they say, oh, well, it says here I must fill it in, or else I face jail time or fines. And I said, well, I can't hear it say anything. You see how they render your 5 senses redundant? This is how cleverly they do it. People have been literally brainwashed. This is where the tap water comes in. And we can talk about this stuff for a week. And how tap water and the rest of it has actually manipulated the people's brains into believing that pieces of paper speak. That's how crazy it is. You know? People might be looking at this clip and saying this stuff sounds so crazy that he's bananas, you know. But that's the reality of it. There are 5 senses, one of which is hear and speak and see and touch and smell, you know. That's what your 5 senses. This is what the sovereign seal represents. All the information is contained in the sovereign seal. Language, hieroglyphics, you know, the cycles of the sun, the cycles of the moon, you know. I mean, not only has London captivated people with their legal system, which is not a lawful system, they've also encapsulated this country and many others with the element of time, because of 0 GMT. What's time? You know? So they have everybody run on their clock instead of the principles of our ancient Brehon law system, which haven't gone away and which we can still invoke. You know, that's why Article 41.1.1 is so important of the original text draft, which has been removed from print, because that particular article, even though it is a construct, it's a very, very interesting, if people examine it, it's quite simple. People need to examine that paragraph, that even the state recognises the family is the basic fundamental unit group of our society according to nature, and that it is a moral institution possessing inalienable, invincible rights, which are more ancient, Bren, and higher than any human statute. So a human statute is a man-made construct. Yeah.
Have you got a copy of the original constitution here?
I do. It's probably one of the last remaining. I have it just there on your left under that thing there, and it might be important for to display this.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
People need to know. We're all familiar with the Bunrock na Éireann, the Blue Book constitution that people think is the real thing, and it's not. Now, some years ago, I met an interesting man called John Riney from Donegal who put me in touch with this. He made me aware of this. So I said, this is quite amazing, because this needs to get out. So I bought the last 4 remaining copies at a push in Government Publications Office. And lucky enough, I had a photograph. We initially got it put up on the shelves with a bit of a push. It took a bit of a push. It took a couple of rows in the Government Publications Office. Have to put people on notice. If you're not going to produce this, maybe I'll have to report you. So that's the baby there. So when I got the last 4 copies, they cost €19.05. I ordered another 1,000 copies. So, not that I had the money to buy 1,000 copies, but
why is it so difficult to find these days?
Well, the government pulled it from print. They don't want this information out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quote from the Blue Book, Bunrock na Éireann. You can buy for €2.52. So I'm going to read the Blue Book, or the watered down version of the Irish Constitution, which the people can use as a means of protection. Now, the Blue Book states the following. It states the state recognises the family as a natural, primary and fundamental unit group of society, and as a moral institution possess inalienable and imprescriptible rights, antecedent superior to all positive law. That sounds really nice. Positive law, law's law. The original text draft, which is the exact verbatim translation from the Irish language which prevails, okay, states the following. The state acknowledges that the family is the basic primary group unit of and for society according to nature, and that it is a moral institution which has inalienable, invincible rights, okay? Invincible rights, folks, which are more ancient and higher than any human statute. Okay? Can't be any plain and simple as that.
And they can find a copy of that on Wethepeople.ie.
You can find a copy of it on Wethepeople.ie, which was infiltrated and a lot of stuff was removed from it. We have to work on that again. I hope it's back up again. I think it's also on TNSRadio as well. Various other groups have taken it, but what I usually notice about different groups is if they haven't got this up, I usually find out people's true intention one way or the other by the content of their material on the website. People may talk about sovereignty, but do they have any remedy? Are they giving the people remedy? We can talk about the New World Order till the cows come home. We can talk about the problems till we're blue in the face. People need solutions. If you don't get them, well, we're in for a rough time, because people need solutions and they need them now.
And
they need them yesterday.
And that constitution that was written by De Valera and the Constitution Commission, that was based on what?
Ultimately, it was based on the proclamation. Okay? The proclamation states where the people have sovereign and indefeasible rights. You're born sovereign. Sovereign means that you're born with you hold every office. As long as you don't cause harm, loss and injury, you're not breaking law. You're born sovereign. Doesn't give a damn what you believe in, where you're from. You're born sovereign under your creator. That means nobody can tell you what to do unless you're breaking the law, unless you're causing harm, loss and injury. No corporation or registered company can tell you what to do. And that includes the guards, because the guards is also a registered corporation. If they wish to act as policy officers, which is a policy man or a policeman, policy man acts out policies of a registered corporation, which the guards are. Check Dun and Bradstreet. Check all this, and you'll see that they're a registered company trading for profit. If people feel they're being violated, they can also ask these guards, you need to ask them for their oath of office. Are they sworn? Are they acting in the capacity of sworn peacemakers, Garda Síochána, guardians of the peace, or are they acting in the capacity of policemen, policy officers of a registered corporation, enacting codes, policy, statutes and acts to gather revenue? That's all for the Oireachtas, which is returned via attorneys back to the Crown.
There was another constitution though, wasn't there?
Searstad Éireann. Yeah?
Before that.
That was a very big. There was about 4. There was only a short number of articles in that. This is read on the 21st of January, and the Chief Justice, the Micheál and the Taoiseach, those 3 officers are supposed to attend this turning of the Sovereign Seal every year, to witness the turning of the Sovereign Seal every year, which validates their office. And if you don't witness this, then you can't recognise it. If you can't recognise it, you can't act upon it. If you can't act upon it, well then where are they getting their oath of office from? Where are they getting their alleged authority to impose these rules and regulations on the sovereign people? Where are they getting their authority to issue licenses, collect taxes, appoint a judiciary? They don't have the sovereign authority to do this because they're not a sovereign government.
And does that answer the question, why don't they attend the Mansion House on the 21st of January?
Pretty much, because they're acting in they're acting as corporate, they're acting as officers of a company, of a registered corporation. So only a registered corporation can do business with a registered corporation. So all these licenses that are issued are essentially void, null and void. You know, that includes gas licenses, oil licenses, fishery license. People need to wake up and question this. That's the problem with this. People don't actually ask questions. People just accept. They don't ask questions. And as long as you don't ask a question, I mean, I can come into someone, I can give them a notice and say, I'm issuing you a notice that I'm going to charge you €1,000 a year for these household charges, for example. Where do I get the authority to do that? Because the people don't ask. Nobody asks me, so they just give me money, don't they? It's great business. So I keep sending out all these notices. And as long as people don't say stop, I'm going to keep sending them, isn't it? So they think it's a great business. So why stop? this gravy train. People need to wake up and say, hang on a second, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, a couple of years ago, the sheriff came in here. He said he was coming by post. Well, he put me on notice. The letter didn't speak. So when I opened the door, these two bounty hunter thugs, about 6'6", pushed in the door. And they said, we want £5,000 at the time. And I didn't know as much then, but I knew innately that it was wrong. So, because of their attitude in the house and the use of bad language, that really pissed me off. So I said, I'm the only one who can use bad language in this house, because this is my little domain. You know? So he had a piece of paper in his hand. So I grabbed the paper out of his hand and I said, I looked at it and I said, there's no date on this, there's no signature on this, you're an imposter. So I had a guy with a camera behind the curtain. I said, are you getting all this? And he said, yeah. So he came out from behind the curtain. And these deputies of the sheriff literally put the page up to their face to hide their face and said, you don't owe me anything, you don't owe it 3 times good enough for me in law, now you get out of my house. I said, you get back to that sheriff that was appointed directly by the Minister for Justice via the Oireachtas for the Crown. Go back and tell him I'm going to put him on notice, which is exactly what I did. And that was the end of the sheriff, isn't it? Taxman tried the same trick, and I said he posted a letter alleging that I owed him 50,000. This is a long time ago. I hadn't 50,000 anything. I think he got me mixed up with somebody else actually, but that wasn't the point. So I just wrote a letter back, so you document and verify the obligation, and I consider it. They can't, because it means that there has to be a contract. So I got a letter back stating that it was only an allegation, it was only a making up.
So that that response, document and verify the obligation, that's how you dealt with the income tax?
But that's how I deal with just about everything. But you can do it other ways. To document and verify the obligation, like for people out there who think they have to pay all these water charges and household charges, they just accept it, they don't ask any questions. There's lots of ways of doing this. First of all, they can say, well, the notice is not a bill in law, so you send me a notice and I consider it. Send me a bill and I consider it a notice, because a notice is not a bill in law. And if people are receiving notices from eFlow or other extortion rackets, agencies, could be from clampers, could be from anything, all you got to do is say what you're saying when you say send me a bill and not a notice, because a notice is not a bill in law. What you're saying is indirectly is document and verify the obligation. That's what it really is. You don't have to state that. But when I send him a letter, I can have fun with him, you know. Because I'd write a letter back to eFlow or any other extortion racket company and say, I've noticed your unsigned void in law notice. Alleging, everything's an allegation here, alleging that an act was offended. What's an act? An advanced corporation tax. That's what an act is. So I'd write that down, handwritten blue ink. Alleging an advanced corporation tax was offended. They don't want the people to know that one. So I pay this alleged debt on proof of claim upon which relief can be granted. Meaning, send me a bill or an invoice for this alleged debt. Sure, then I'll pay it. But they can't, because it doesn't exist. Because for it to exist, in order for it to exist, there would have to be a binding contract in the first place. And that's all they are trying to seek from you, is for you to give them that joinder by sending you a notice. Okay? That's all it is. It's psychology, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. That's exact. There's nothing wrong with NLP, but it's been used against the people. Okay? So you got to recognize it, and you got to say, "No, I don't understand that. I don't stand under that." So you have a nice day. That's the back, and then you receive a letter back, a reply, of a cancellation. So the wording is quite simple. When I write this, they kind of know me by now. They leave me alone. I just write, I've noticed your unsigned void and long notice alleging an advanced corporation tax was offended. However, please notice my notice. However, I'll pay this alleged debt on proof of claim upon which relief can be granted. Meaning, send me a bill. I'm sure if you can succeed and send me a bill, sure I'll pay it.
They never send a bill.
They don't have one, they can't. Because there's no contract. So never give them your signature or your sign of nature. Never give sign of nature. Never give them your signature, because you have to think, talk and do. Okay, so essentially if you do that, you're giving them 3 of your 5 senses. Your intellect and reason and your intent and your action, but you manifest the concept through your trinity. You think, talk and do, and then you give them your sign of nature. So, and you recognize it, you see it, you understand it then, which means you stand under it. So pretty much your senses given to you under the Creator that enable you to be sovereign, you've given them away. So to act as in a sovereign, this is why sovereignty is so important. It supersedes everything. Politics is only many bloodsuckers. That's all politics are. And if politics changed anything, they'd abolish it. That's why they don't change it. But you don't have to be a member of any political party at all. You don't have to join anything. You don't even have to join your hands, you just have to act in a sovereign manner. That's all. It's simple as that. It's as uncomplicated as that, really.